All right, let's just get into this. Well, how is there still fluid in there? First, I begin by removing all of the HVAC mounting hardware. Then I'm going to switch over to a 5/16 heater core lines off. Seems to work really hard to get that one in there. And let's hit it again. Well, that's just too easy right there. Wait, where are you at? And sand went everywhere. Check it out, guys. This stuff is still flexible after 55 years of being in service. Outlived its usefulness and done a really good job doing so. Anyway, we no longer need you, sealer. All right, well, I'll clean all that off later. I'm gonna go get the box and the inside off. 3. After removing the 3 blower housing screws, I continued on, changing the camera angle now to the inside. So I've got 2 more bolts in here to get out. And apparently I keep getting them wrong. There we go. And there's one more down here. Where you at, buddy? Straight down below that one, there's another. What is this? 3/8. Figured as much. So getting this other 3/8. Tell you what, next time I do this again, I will gut the entire interior. The sand. There it is. Well, what happened there? What else do we gotta get? We got more. All right, so continuing the progress of removing the engine harness. The forward lamp harness off too. While I'm at it, might as well. My key buzzer. All right, so throw that in my box of parts. I don't even know if this still works, but we'll find out. Easy enough. Let's start by getting this cleaned up. Somehow, this stuff is still flexible. I'm just going to get in here with a little brake clean. Not a lot to say here, you know, just cleaning and scrubbing. All right, so now that I got this clean, the next step is to take this lip and fold it in. But first I'm gonna go ahead and get this insulation in the inside out, and then I'll come back and fold that down. Well, in the first video I was hoping to save all this stuff, just keep some originality, but with the Vintage Air, it's got to come down. Oh look, more sand. Lesson learned on that one. All right, now that I got a real razor blade, this stuff's tough to cut. There we go. Fighting me. All right, freedom, finally. Look at this thing. It's still, I mean, it's dirty, but it's like rubber's still flexible. Diaphragm is still good. I don't know what I'm gonna do with all these parts. Probably put some on sale. Well, you guessed it, more cleaning and scraping. Got most of the carpet and the glue off. Carpet jute, whatever. Insulator, whatever you wanna call it. Anyway, got it off. So I'll quickly wire wheel this, get the rest of the fibers off. Kind of cleaning up these areas over here and getting some surface rust treatment on it. Yeah, like back here behind the fresh air intake is just super clean. So I think I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this lip off instead of bending it down, because I don't want it to deform. You can see the wall moves pretty easily. I don't want to deform it, and there's really no need to just bend it down. It's going to get covered. So I think I'm just going to take my wheel and grind along these edges and just take it off, make it flush to the wall. I think that'll be a much more professional, or I don't know if it's more professional, but it'll be better than bending all this up. So. All right, so I've got some holes to drill out. They wanted these ones made bigger, but they're already bigger. So this one, 9/32. And these are also already too big enough. Okay, so once I get the panel, I'll do that final hole up here, but I think that should be it on here. this one here. So I'm looking at these instructions and they're saying these two, unless I'm supposed to make a hole here. Let's find out. All right, guys, I just mocked this up here real quick. See if I'm on the right path here. So I got to drill a hole there. Yeah, they said I needed to enlarge these holes, but they're already quite large. So I don't think they needed this one drilled. Okay, now let's go over to the workbench and attach the hardware. Okay, I'm gonna take the supplied hardware, this bolt and this retainer, slip it on down. See how easy that is to slip on down. Might need to go like this. All right, where else am I supposed to stick? Two on the end, these three here. All right, sticking these push nut bolt retainers on. Got ahead of myself here, I forgot to hit record. All right, so I'm taking some 3M strip caulk, just applying it, just like so. Kind of outlining it. Pretty simple process. They, being Vintage Air, say to use RTV, but I'd prefer the strip caulk, and if I was going to use anything else, I'd probably use seam sealer before RTV. But this will work just fine. I believe it's non-melting, so it should be good to go. See if we can fit this guy in here. Wait, upside down. Here we go. Where you at, hole? Well, why are you fighting me? All right, what am I supposed to do next? Drill another hole. Well, that was simple. Just right through. All right, so all we got to do now is get in here and tighten these. Oh, hey everyone, I'm back at it after. In my time, it's been actually a couple weeks. I've been out sick with whatever is going around. When I left off, I was working on the firewall, getting the Vintage Air closeout panel on, and I'm still just, cleaning things up. I did some sealing, seam sealer along these edges here on the bulkhead, A-pillar kind of stuff. Today I'm gonna carry on where I left off, getting these old sections of sealer out down here that didn't get taken care of in the sandblasting, and get things sealed up and ready to get all of this. There we go. Where are we pointing? Right there. There. Get all that cleaned off, all that debris and dirt and whatnot. Any cleaning? And for just a little more corrosion protection, I'm gonna go ahead and hit these spots that I just cleaned with the wire wheel. Just some primer. Rust-Oleum, nothing fancy, just to seal it. Same thing down here. Just to put a little seal on that metal that I just exposed. And that'll be that. Let that set up, run some seam sealer on it. All right, and I think for probably obvious reasons, but maybe it's worth going over, a lot of this sealer that was put on at the factory was, 55 years old. It wasn't sealing anything anymore. And if you look carefully, right up there, you'll see a hole. And if you don't seal this, that's where, you're gonna get water pouring in on your feet and making your floorboards rust. But I like to cut this tip off at this angle so I can lay it on my surface flat and roll it down. All All right, guys, so I just took a regular paintbrush and then I cut, it was like that much longer. I cut the bristles off so it's a lot stiffer, and I can just get in here and I can, you know, nicely, let's see, start up here. Make a nice straight bead. Just like that. And then I'll get up here and brush it into this seam right here that had the hole in it. I'll get in this corner and I'll just try to keep it as smooth as possible. Kind of roll it up and out. Same thing here, just get it nice and smeared into this corner. So I know it's sealed. And that's pretty much it. If possible, I try to emulate what they did at the factory with just a smooth line, kind of like this old stuff that's still up here. So I modified this foam brush here. I just cut a lot of the tip off so it's nice and firm. And then I just grab my silicone and I cleaned all this out real good. This is just some remnant. Working through the list, GTOs, next steps. It's not necessarily a linear layout of exactly how it's going to go, but this would like to accomplish over the next few weeks, well, more specifically over the next 4 weeks through the month of April, after I kick this cold. Let's keep going. All right, guys, I've actually had a couple weeks off. Coming back in, sort of refreshing my brain where I'm at in this job, but when I left off, paint, right? And this turned out really, really good. Is it dipped and painted? No, it's not. But I did put a lot of emphasis on the firewall, making sure that I got that as close as possible to the factory sheen. You can kind of see it's just a very low gloss, really kind of stands out there. And that's what everyone's eyes are going to be drawn to anyway. Ultimately, I'm real happy with the way this turned out, especially since it was, cleaning and painting with everything on. Managed not to paint my springs or the inside of my wheels. Happy about that. All right, now I'd like to get to work. So let's do this. Thanks for joining your regularly scheduled program in progress. I am Vintage Air Day, trying to get this put together. Gen 5 seems to have some, it seems like they've stepped up their game, but they also give you some assembly required, more than just the, putting it in. The boxes in the old days used to come fitted with the plenums, and the bracket, you just kind of bolt it into a riv nut in the back and all that good stuff. And the new setup requires you to put the plenums on and Well, I saved part of this to show you some of these some of this new hardware they've got. So let me get you in here so you can see what I'm working on, okay? So something different in the Gen 5 versus like the Gen 3s are these well nuts. They fit really loosely in the hole, but when you tighten the nut down, or the bolt, like I already did on this one, it swedges it. It swells it, it fits, it's nice and tight. Something else that's different is this bracket. Back in the old days, this was welded on. Now you have to install these. They say about halfway. And this one, because they put this coating on it, the threads were a little stiff, so I had to, a little bit of Loctite, a little bit of anti-seize, just so it, you know, didn't booger the threads. Just lots of assembly. The defrost plenum, you've got these clips to hold it on, or actually this isn't defrost, this is floor. Then this is the dash distribution plenum, you gotta put that on. And then this is the defrost plenum, gotta put that on. And the pictures are kind of clear as mud. You know, you figure it out, but you spend a little bit of time, you know, really getting your eyes in there trying to figure out what they're showing you. You caught me in progress already doing that because who wants to watch that? All the figuring. So now that I'm done with the figuring, we'll keep working here. I'm gonna put this one on for you so you can kind of see these well nuts in action. You can see a guy would be like, why, that's not gonna, how's that gonna, that's not gonna work. That's, you know, sort of how I felt about it at first, but then you realize, I see, when I tighten this up, it's gonna mushroom and it's gonna hold it in there snug. All right, well, I gotta connect my hoses. Well, let me back this up. I have to connect my fittings. So I'm gonna take a little bit of this oil they supply you in the kit and lube up this O-ring a little bit, just so it doesn't pinch. And make sure that it's a nice fit. I won't fully snug these down yet until I get my hoses connected. Fitting, snugging it down by hand. Not going to tighten it yet until I'm ready to install the hoses. All right. First I'm going to install this, well, kind of loosely install, just make sure it fits, which it does. It's good. And then they say to route the white, yellow, purple into the grommet. And same thing here. Push this in. I put a little lube on all these to make it a little easier to slide through these holes. All right. And there is a teeny little mark right there that indicates top. So you know it's gonna go like that. And we're gonna do that for like 14,200 more wires. So let's go ahead and speed that up and get that done. Not sure how much. Okay then. Let's see. What are we doing? All right, here we go. Heater hoses to the inside. All right, so in the next step, they're illustrating the hoses going from kick panel side to the fresh air side. And I'm gonna go ahead and just use a little bit of soapy water, because I know this can be a bear. Well, we're off to a bad start anyway because I had this in the way of the camera. Let's try this again. All right, so once you get them started, they're not too bad. It's a little unwieldy because I got a long length of hose here to pull through these holes. This working? Yep, okay. Continuing on. Trying not to soak my relay with soapy water. gonna pull some through on this other side here. Make my life a little easier. This is gonna just be stupid, I know it is. This number 10 fitting does not really want to fit through this grommet in here. Now maybe for someone a little more capable, I don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and feed her through, and then I will wrestle with the grommet once I get it run through the hole. And maybe that'll turn out to be a really bad idea too. We'll find out. Okay. Okay, that's better. Okay, so before I get this cap in, I need to cut out a little section of Dynamat to put down right in here. Okay, so now I gotta go around and find the holes that I covered. Let's shed a little light on this subject, shall we? So I got this kick plate put in. I still gotta push that grommet in. So I got that installed. I'm gonna go ahead and struggle with using a 3/4 hose when it calls for 5/8 hoses, because on the Pontiac water pump, they want you to, let's see, there it is. Let me get my pointer out. All right, on the Pontiac water pump, the nipple coming off the water pump is 3/4. So they want you to do an adapter under the hood, and I thought that will just look stupid and not really acceptable to me. So I figured I'd struggle and do it the opposite end. So I did that here. It's 3/4. Then I got a Gates adapter. It's specifically for coolant down to the 5/8. And I just reversed it, put it inside the car where you won't see it. Out under the hood, it's just gonna be one solid piece of hose. That's why I went with the struggle of trying to get a slightly bigger hose through all those grommets and dealing with that mess than having that. Next, I gotta connect the AC lines. So I figured out why they want the studs in here first. It's kind of cool, I guess. You put the studs in, put it in your hole in the firewall, then you drill those two holes once they're in place. It's basically, you know, giving you your alignment. However, I'm having a hard time getting the top one to go in the top hole up there. So I'm going to leave the bottom one, take the top one out, see if I can fit it up there, and then, you know, maybe put a pick or something from the outside to line it up, or just get the bolt started, and then I'll drill my holes and mount it up here at the top. So I'm gonna carry on with that, and then we'll come back here in a few minutes. Okay, so I'm gonna put a little oil, comes in the kit, on my O-rings, before I feed these in and tighten them down, which I think they want you to tighten them down before you hang the box, but I didn't do that. So honestly, I kind of did it on purpose. I didn't really feel like fighting my hoses. This top Allen key out, top stud out, using an Allen key. Okay, and I'm gonna get that one going. All right, so then I'm gonna pull that one out, do the same thing, bolt those two down, and box is installed. Welcome back to another day with the 71 GTO. Yesterday I got the Vintage Air box installed, and I'm gonna put a pause on this stuff today because as much as I wanna keep working in sort of a linear fashion or one step to the next, little things that have to happen in between, like I need to get the core support clean, sanded, and painted so that I can install my condenser, radiator, etc. But before I do that, I need to put the engine and transmission back in, which are parked over there. But I got a lot of cleanup, things to clean, sand, and paint. Yesterday, you guys saw me wrestle and struggle with this guy, and you know, the instructions are good, but things don't fit exactly as they say they're going to. With a little patience, you guys can get things, you know, right where you want them. So, and then sometimes you have to break away from the instructions and sort of go rogue and figure it out yourself. I did put some lube on the O-rings, got the hoses snugged down. I used some little mini wrenches to get in here. Not too bad. You can put them on afterwards. You definitely have to do the heater hoses first, but this you can do second. And you guys saw I had to make the holes in the wall a little bit bigger because even though the plate was lined up, it still didn't quite fit the two holes that I needed it to, but got that all worked out as well. So, and I will be, little side note here, I will be plugging the holes for the ductwork and wrapping a garbage bag, or I will be sealing this up so it doesn't get full of the body dust and all of the stuff that you collect when you're doing body work. Gonna get in here and got some, I think this is a 300 Scotch-Brite. Just scrub all this. There was a rabbit living right here in this corner, or some type of creature with a lot of hair. I'll go ahead and say it was a rabbit. We get those a lot out here. All right, well, that's a thumbs up for Vice Grip Garage's Rebuild Black. I need to do one more coat, some fogging or dusting over here, looks like. So I know you can buy these online for anywhere from $300 to $400. That doesn't include shipping though. And I've only got about 3 hours into this total. And since there was really nothing wrong with it other than a little bit of rust treatment here in the corner, you know, I think it's worth fixing. I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. And let's be honest, 90% of this won't even be seen. So this is really just about corrosion protection, probably more than anything else. But I'm gonna do some hinges and some other parts now, and we'll give it our full grade when we're all done, but it's not bad. And I like the sheen. It's definitely not gloss. As it's still flashing off, I'm starting to see some things I need to do, but I'm pretty happy with that. It's not too shabby. All right, let's keep going. Well, hey guys, how you doing down over there? These were media blasted, so they have a real nice base to start with. Same thing with this alternator bracket here that I did, also was media blasted. So yeah, I think I'll be quite happy with this. You know, the stuff that really matters, that's gonna get done by the painter. But trying to save some pennies and nickels here. And just to be clear, I paid for these. These are not a sponsor endorsement or anything like that. I've tried many different paints behind the scenes and really wasn't happy with any of the results. None of them were the satin that they said they were, or none of them were the shine they said they were. Now on the Firewall, I used different materials because that is where everyone's eyes are gonna go. Hey everyone, I'm back. It's been, I don't know, been a couple of weeks actually since I shot anything or put anything out. Here on a Saturday, hanging out with Henry. I'm gonna go introduce you to him in a second. And just fill you on some things I've been getting done. So you guys saw the core support earlier in the video. Been working on just getting some things cleaned up. I've got some new power steering hose that's gonna go on hopefully today. And some of the other stuff that we've accomplished off camera is a couple other parts cleaned up, and you know, it's the same process. Media blaster, scrubbing, sanding, getting rid of all the rust, and then painting. It's one of the coolest parts of my job is getting to hang out with these guys, and then they eventually become my friends. And it's a lot of fun. Not too many people get to do it. So, how's it going?
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle?
It's starting to come together though.
Yeah, that looks good.
You know? Trying to keep each weave I want to be the same.
Right.
Except when you make a little bit of a bend, you always end up with a little extra, but if I can keep them spaced out evenly, it'll have a better look.
Yeah, and that, guys, that's not my forte. I don't know, I'm all thumbs, but it's one of the coolest parts is just getting to work with people in their own projects, and him getting to do some of his own. By the way, this is Henry, if I didn't say. We'll talk about some of the cars we've done in the past, like that GT over there, or the Mustang, or some of the other fun cars. But for now, we're sticking to the GTO.
All right.
And he's gonna keep wrapping. Now I'm gonna stop talking and get to work. So I cleaned this up a bunch off camera. I whiz-wheeled some of the rust off over here. Same thing over here. Just trying to get some of this loose rust off. And I've treated it with a gel rust remover and inhibitor. And like I said, the big stuff, I've just gone over it with a wheel. You can see on this edge here, and cleaned it up. And I simple greened it, scrubbed it, and simple greened it. And this is about as clean as it's gonna get. I have a sprayer and I could spray the coating on, but honestly, I don't want to make the mess today, and I don't need to. So I'm going to use this barrier bond, and I'm going to try brushing it on, then rolling it out. And I've got a couple of different types of rollers to see if I can get the finish that I want, you know, a little bit of a rough texture. I don't want it to be totally smooth, and I certainly don't want it to look like it was brushed on. So we're going to try this together for the first time, on this part anyway. We'll see how it goes. So I'm just going to dump some in, just lay it on there. You know, sometimes you just got to try stuff, and if it doesn't work out, well, try something else. But my idea is Once that's laid out, then get my roller and do this. And I'm gonna do small sections because this stuff does kind of rubberize quickly. And once I've got it laid out, I'm just gonna roll it like that. And I'm happy with that, actually. I think that's gonna be fine. So I'm gonna keep doing it that way. Let's see, I should probably be careful of those holes. Yeah, this stuff does start setting up quite quickly. And it looks like you just wanna make a smooth movement. Yeah, I'm happy with that. It looks like it was sprayed in there. I mean, sorta, I guess. There we go. Get out of there. Oh, it looks like I lost a piece of my foam. So it doesn't look like you got a lot of time to play with this, fellas. I'm gonna have to go back and fix that. I've got a little tray over here. I think I'll try putting it on my roller, kind of like painting a house, I guess. See how that works out. So the foam roller doesn't like this stuff too much, but that's okay. I bought extras. See how this works. Yeah, about ready to check that one out. Kind of hear the traffic rolling. You see, fellas, I'm just trying to put a little texture in it. So, nothing too fancy. And here I got some brush marks, so I'm just gonna go ahead and cover those up. I feel like Bob Ross right now. And this stuff dries quick. Okay, so I got something else to try here. Hold on. I tried the foam roller. That didn't turn out quite the way I wanted it to texture-wise. So I'm gonna try a, I don't know, what do they call this? We'll call this a fluffy roller. Anyway, let's see if this gives me a little better texture. So I'm gonna pour some out on the roller, and then we'll get in here and try to make one like consecutive line. Yeah, that gives a little better texture. Try not to leave too many of these bigger lines. Try to blend the edges. Yeah, I like that better. Try to get rid of this line, this edge that I just made here. So you don't have a lot of time. It looks like if you start messing with it, then it starts lifting it. So I'll have to leave that alone and call that good enough. What's in here? What's that? Got some kind of a schmutz in there. Okay, I think I'm gonna leave that alone because I'm gonna start lifting it now. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, ultimately, we're just trying to make it aesthetically pleasing as possible, but more importantly, a little sound deadening, not quite as tinny, and corrosion protection, right? Not that this is gonna see too many salty roads out here in Arizona, but all right, well, I'm gonna carry on and do the next one. We'll come back in a minute. I made a mistake laying it on a towel and not blocking that hole, so now I'm gonna have to fix that. That's a bummer, but all right, well, lesson learned. Yeah, same thing right up there as well. Okay. Well, once that dries, I'll sand it and repaint it. So on this one, I'm gonna put some tape over those holes and it won't ooze out on my fender liner. And then I can just poke through those later when I need to. Well, this is the second one done. And isn't that how it always works out? I think the second one always turns out better than the first one, especially when you're experimenting. I don't even know why I did quotes there. The heavier nap brush is the winner for sure, or roller I should say, not a brush. So I'm pretty happy with that result. It just goes to show you can do whatever you want with your car. You can break out the spray gun, or you can experiment and try to find another way to get the result you're looking for. Ultimately, a little sound deadening, little rock chip protection, good to go. All right, I just did the same process to my battery tray. I media blasted it and decided it was in good enough shape that I would restore it. And same process here, I just took some of the rubberized undercoating, but this time I took my paintbrush and I just kind of lifted and made it look like sort of like a spray and bed liner appearance. All right, well, I'm gonna let that set up, and I think at this stage I'm gonna go start putting some stuff on the engine. All right, look at these. Now, this isn't a new day. After an hour and a half of playing with the fiberglass wrap, you know, it was in the shirt, it's in the hands.
It's a little itchy.
It's a little itchy, so we did a wardrobe change. But this is not as easy as it looks, fellas. I'm sure there are a couple of different ways to tackle this, but...
If there was a company, I'd send it out there and have them wrap it and send it back.
Right? Oh no, you can be a part of this. Did this come with it, these shims?
Yep.
Sweet. All right, we're gonna go with the gear reduction starter because as most of you guys probably know, you can hold your boat in place with this one. It's so heavy. So we're gonna get rid of that. It is clockable, so I think the first thing I need to do is figure out how it's gonna be clocked on the engine.
Yeah. Jegs, if we're going to use your starter, the one thing I expect is a sticker in this. Because as you can see, I collect stickers.
All right, so first I took this plate off and rotated it around until I found I think the best position. We'll find out. You have lots of choices of clocking you can choose. Mosquito?
Yeah. Came out of nowhere.
No mosquito in there
There is a mosquito. I honestly didn't think there was when he said that, but there definitely is.
from the paint fumes.
No, there's a couple of mosquitoes. So I'm gonna just hang this here loose for a minute, then we're gonna set the headers up here to see if we've got clearance, which I think we will. It's actually pretty low profile. Henry's gonna bring in the header here. Ooh, dang. Wants to hit the battery positive in the starter. Of course it is. I don't really want to use that big boat starter. Okay, so that's a little bit better. All right, so I've gone to the extreme of the top clocking there. It's the clock top and bottom. And let's see if this got us what we needed. That's much better. All right, so with the adjustment, and then push it up flush if you can to the block. There you go, and hang it in there. That's gonna be close to the starter circuit, but I'll have to put some heat shielding around it to make that better, but at least I've got a good gap now. All right, so I got this starter mounted up after 45 minutes to an hour off camera. And the issue with this one is not getting my pinion depth over here. The starter itself needs to go back about 2 to 3 millimeters so that the pinion is not constantly riding in the ring gear. So for now, I put some washers just to verify that that's the fix. I'll call Jegs on Monday and see if I can get maybe a proper spacer for that. But we're gonna go ahead and mount the headers up now. We can deal with this in the car because unlike the big starter that goes there, this one will come out fairly easily. So I'm gonna move on from this, but yeah, you guys just missed like 45 minutes of Googling and trying to figure out what in the world is wrong with this. You can put all the shims you want right here, doesn't matter. You still have a problem with this riding consistently or constantly in the ring gear. Well, my lapel mic died, so you're gonna have different audio, but...
I gotta raise this up.
Oh, he really wants the win of putting this in the car today, so we're gonna get that done before we get out of here. Today hasn't been super productive. but we had some fun. We got some things done. We're gonna have to come back to the starter next week. Whoa. Easy. Take it easy. You'll be home in a minute. Just relax. Oh, hold on. That's the water steering pump that I need to take off.
Tell me when.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you want me to move that?
Get this out of the way. Stop right.
A little higher?
Well, so at one point, at some point here.
Looking good.
Okay.
Now, if we need to push my way, you can.
Looks good.
Boy, you can see how those headers, how tight they are to that.
Right? Is it crooked?
Yeah, that could be like a Pontiac design, because they were always known to have fat girlfriends. So you needed that engine mounted a little sideways,
What was
so you could go straight down the road. That looks right. We'll be able to noodle it around.
Because when the transmission's in there, the engine's gonna sit more like that.
All that knurling.
It's all that
Yeah,
knurling.
all that nerdling.
And all right, Henry. Well, now we got that in. Let's see if we can solve our other problem, which is now
Well, we need to put the pins in?
we might have to lift the engine back up to get that header in. So I'm not putting the pins
Oh, I
in yet.
figured you'd have to put the header on from underneath.
No, it's never gonna clear this space here. That flange back there is never gonna slide through here. So
So you're saying we actually have to lift the engine up a little to get the header back on?
yeah, I think so. Cause the when I took this bad boy out, yeah, that's never going in there. It was just resting on the frame, and then when we pulled the engine up, it fell out. Okay, so we know in the right spot. So raise it up for me. Let me give you the wherever I set it. See what I do here? Here it is. I just put things away, and I'm not. Oh, you wanna that one? There you go. So let's see if we can sneak this guy in. If I'm gonna be able to crawl in there and do that or not, but let's see if I've got my limbo body.
Should I give him the
You
floor?
take
down
the
there?
starter off.
Yeah.
I need like one of those things where you're on wheels and you
That starter come off fast with your little
roll in.
gizbob.
But even with the starter off, I don't quite have the what I need. Let's see. Can I get under here like this? Thank you. There we go.
Okay, we're there.
You there?
Yeah.
Okay, hold it there.
Where's that WD-40?
Right? Right here. Got WD-40 right here.
Cut! Wow, looks great.
Yes, it does. Now I just gotta start putting it back together.
Hey, that worked.
Look at-
WD worked.
Magic of WD-40.
And then I just gotta start building. I think I'm missing.
I'll order the air cleaner.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm back on a Tuesday. This last Saturday I was here with Henry and he wrapped the headers. We put the engine in, cleaned and painted a lot of parts. And really where I'm aiming with this right now is trying to get all of this back together so I can get the Vintage Air and the electrical done. And like I keep saying, we're trying to get this off to paint here soon. So I'm just gonna keep going on my list of things to do today. So I've kind of jotted out a little punch list of things that I'd like to try to get done Right now I'm working on the power steering pump hoses. I tried to get just a good replacement high pressure hose, but none of them actually had the correct bends. So I'm just gonna fix this one, show you how to do that, and then we'll just keep going on through this list. All right, we'll start by taking this hose off. I probably should have taken this hose off a long time ago, but I didn't really want to deal with the open lines and the constantly dripping fluid from the gear. And we were going to be pushing this car in and out. And I want to be shooting fluid everywhere. So anyway, there you go, pump's off. All right, I'm back. I had to go find a set of safety glasses so I could safely cut on this hose. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take this cutoff wheel, cut these clamps on this side, the other side, split them. It's kind of a pain to, you'll see, they kind of fight you a little bit, but once those are off, get this old length of hose off, and I've got some new high pressure hose to put on there and some new clamps, and I'm not gonna use worm clamps because they look stupid. Let's cut this bad boy. Here we go. I'm gonna put my ear protection in first. So the idea here is to make sure that you don't cut, obviously you don't want to cut through the hose, so you want to stop short. You just want to get right to the lip, and then you'll spend the rest of the time just trying to pry it apart. And sometimes that is kind of easy. All right, we're going to go over to the vise. Okay, I got a real screwdriver. Got it chalked up in a vise here. And just try to get under here and spread this collar back. Cut it off, take your hard line out, inspect it, make sure I didn't cut through it. I got kind of close right there, but I did not cut through it. Same thing on this side. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. This thing is still dripping, you see? This is why I didn't want to take it off when we were pushing her around. Be fluid everywhere. All right, so I've got some high pressure hydraulic hose. I got this from O'Reilly. It's definitely rated for more than 300 PSI, I think is what he said, or 600, a lot. It's rated. So I'm gonna use, instead of hose clamps, which I think look ridiculous, I'm gonna use these ear clamps, but I'm not gonna clamp them down right now because you can see the pickle you can get in with all these bends and angles and these pipes. So I will get the hose in place and then clamp them. I'm gonna use some brake clean and clean off this tube. There's a little bit of dirt on it. Nice fit. Here's the tricky part on this, is I want to get this hose over this lip, and it's going to be a fight. So I'm going to put it in the vise, and I'm going to push, and it's going to, you'll see, the hose will expand as I'm doing that, and it'll help me fit it in. Something else probably really important I should mention is I have two different size ear clamps. One obviously fits this slightly bulged out, and then the smaller one behind it. And of course, you're going to want to have them in the right order when you put your hose on, so you don't have to do it again. And the trick here also is to make sure you leave yourself enough hose so it'll balloon when I'm pushing on it, but not so much hose that I can't get any leverage. All right, got my hose in there. Stop fighting, just push real hard. There we go. On. Whew. Okay, and I've got my slightly larger one for this end, and this one's gonna clamp right over that lip there and make a nice tight fit, and it'll look something like that when it's done. However, I'm not going to clamp it yet until I get everything put back on so I can make sure that everything's oriented the right way. All right, just about to finish up the power steering hose, but first I need to mount the pump so I can make sure my orientation of the hose is correct before I crimp it down. Let's get this block off plate put on real quick, and we'll continue moving on. All right, I'm just going to give this a few clicks with my elbow meter. Click, click, click. Let's see if I got this piece of hardware figured out. I'm going to temporarily put a bolt here for now just so I don't have to fight it. That's my adjustment. All right, so I've got this already started on the gear here, and then I'm just going to slide it up into the pump, which I'll probably have to loosen up pull further away from the block so I can actually get this started. But really all I'm concerned for right now is that this is oriented correctly and no kinks, looks good. That's the place to crimp it. This is the tool you need to tighten down ear clamp. What I like about this tool, the cheap ones don't have this little anvil here in the center to push down as it clamps. See how it goes up? So you can get these on Amazon, but they're generally missing that, especially if they come with one of those kits. They're usually cheaper. This was, I don't remember, I think it's probably Mako. It's also very commonly used on CV boots. And I'll just demonstrate that now. It's pretty simple. Grab it, give it a good squeeze. All right, and that should be secured. And then this smaller one, I'll space it up just slightly so I have some room here. Just get in there and give her a good squeeze. And that's it, job done. Looks nice. I really prefer the look and the function over worm clamps. They just, I don't know. The new worm clamps, you guys know, they are just cheap. You give them a couple of turns and snap, they're not even any good. So they're not gonna rust. This should last for years to come. The hoses are done. Hope you guys like them. I'm gonna show you those in a second. I'm gonna finish up getting the new alternator, the pulleys on, and then there's a bracket right there you can't see that I need to put on for the Vintage Air. So let's get to it. Okay, those are the hoses mounted up, crimped up, tightened up, and some zip ties on. Just give the hose a nice appearance. Well, first things first, before I start mounting hardware, I just want to run a tap down these threads on the block. I don't think there's been anything in them for a long time, so it's worth just getting them cleaned up. That one's not too bad. Get these cleaned up as well. Yeah, that one's a little more difficult. It's got Debrief in it. I think it's worth it to take the time to do these little things. I think they're probably often overlooked. That one definitely had some rust in it. Very, very tight. Grab some compressed air and just give them a little. Then I will check one of the new pieces of hardware. Look at that, that's like butter. That way you're not fighting later. Yeah, good. Okay, we're all good. All right, I'm gonna move on to the pulleys and the alternator real quick because the Vintage Air hardware comes bare metal. I had to paint it, still drying, so I'm gonna let that set for a little bit longer. So we'll get this stuff knocked out and then we'll come back to that. All right, so I'm gonna start with my lower pulley, and everything's been media blasted and cleaned and scrubbed and primed and painted. Just a lot of that. Continuous painting, letting stuff sit for a few days, come back, making sure it's all nice and dry, and you know, wash, rinse, repeat. Some of you guys might wonder why I didn't do all this on the engine stand. And there's a reason for that. Earlier in this video, we put the engine in, and Henry he wanted to see it in the car. That is the reason. Though, I will say I realized there was something I forgot to do, needed to do before the engine came out, so it should be interesting. But I gotta replace the steel brake lines from the master cylinder, so that should be fun. Yes, I know, I gotta put my fan clutch back on, but no, I'm gonna leave that off for now. All right, we're gonna get this bracket installed. I think loosely, I don't think I'm gonna snug it up yet. Ow. Got a big spacer, put in the back here. Well, it seems to me like something's a little bent maybe. Let's see. Gotta hold your tongue just right. Well, what are you doing? All right, everyone, I'm back. As you could see before, I was struggling to get this on. Well, the reason why is I had to remove a little bit of material. I don't know what that'd be, about 2 millimeters maybe, of this collar back here because my spacer wouldn't fit. Too long. So, trim that with a cutoff wheel. Something else I failed to mention before, but I'll mention now. This was also not caulked. The face was not caulked correctly. Okay, so I loosened took the 4 bolts out on the body of the alternator, took the pulley off, and moved it 180 degrees. Now it's all the way it should be. Now, Jegs said this is for this car, but apparently, maybe not. I mean, rough-ish. Little of this, and then it fits. So we're in now, gonna tighten that up, and we'll keep going on. I'm gonna get this buttoned up. Maybe this one. Yep. All right, for now, I'm just gonna loosely place this bracket back here. Just kind of finger tight for now, because I'll probably need to take it off, I'm guessing, when I start wiring this thing up here soon. I'm gonna have a sensor for the gauge, and I'm gonna have a sensor for the EFI system. And it looks like I can get to that one, but I'll just leave it finger tight for now. First thing I need to do is determine, they've got 2 configurations, an option A and B, and they say you just need to figure out which one works best for you. Figured it out. The big 1-inch, that's for 67, 69, I think, older. Don't need them. These are only for if you don't have a smog pump. If you do have a smog pump, you're not going to use these because your bracket's going to take up the space behind here. So, small, 1/2 inch, if you don't have the smog pump, simple enough. It's time for the compressor. So I've got a 2-inch bolt. The one thing that I think I mentioned, should have mentioned, I'll re-mention, I used a bolt when I put this bracket on, and then it's important that this is out this way, because you'll think, oh, it's not gonna fit, it's gonna hit the valve cover. Well, it's gotta be out here a bit. So that hopefully is a useful tip. My screwdriver caught to my mic. Okay, and then we're gonna take these 1-inch bolts, or actually 1.5 inches. Slide this one in here on the bracket. These are lock nuts. Got that one slid in there. And then we'll just tighten those down. And there's one more down here in the back. All right, compressor installed. That took way, way too long. So last but not least, there is the issue of securing the dipstick. They send you this bracket that you can mount down here and use this, little fuel line holder. Mount it here, but then what do you do about this? So I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, hey, if I just bend this more into a 90, I can just, something like that. So I think that's what I'll do on another day. I'll just make that bend, make it more up here, attach it to the top of the compressor, something like that. All right, I've got the core support already up in place. I'm using a heavy duty jack to just kind of hold it up in place, because it kind of is a 2-man operation, but I don't have an extra set of hands today, so I'm gonna see if I can pull it off with just my jack here. Okay, so one of the things I'm gonna do to make my life easy is I've got some strip butyl here. And these washers for the new bushings are not attached, and they're gonna slide all over. So I'm gonna take a little bit of butyl, put it on my washer, and then just, attach it to the bushing, kind of line up the hole, smash it down, and then it's gonna hold in place while I do what I need to do. So hopefully that helps. All right, so I had to actually hunt around quite a bit online to find, I have the chassis manual, and I couldn't find the order in the manual. And when I took this thing apart, they were non-existent, and I don't think they were right to begin with, because what I found is it's gonna go in that order. So, and then you've got a captured nut up here that goes into the chassis. Get that lined up with the hole. I'm gonna try to slide this one in here. Hopefully I left myself enough room. Okay, And now can I manipulate it around? Looks like this needs to slide over just a hair. I'm kind of letting it cantilever on my jack stand while I continually scratch my frame that I just painted. Excellent. All right, to keep it from rocking and making my life a little easier, I've just got a 2x4 I'm gonna let it rest on. I've got that one threaded in, kind of started. It's not really tight yet, so I can still move it around. They do call for some shims potentially for the adjustment of the core support height, but I'm not gonna do that because that's gonna all come down to when the front nose starts going back together after paint. All right, I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Just add some butyl to the washer so I can make it stick. I don't have to deal with it. All right, that gets me in a good spot. All right, so jumping right in, like everything in this kit, there's some assembly required still. I've got to put these carriage bolts into this bracket here. So I'm gonna go ahead and speed through that real quick and I'll come back as soon as I'm done. All right, we got to drill some 5/16 holes, enlarge these two here and here, and I'm going to use a step bit, and I've taped off the 5/16 so I know exactly where to go to, make it pretty foolproof, and this should be pretty simple. And you guys obviously noticed that I've got this thing wrapped in cardboard. I've already scuffed the fins, so I'm gonna go ahead and protect this for the rest of the installation. Can't have nice things, Henry. This is where...
Could be a different year.
This is where you go rogue and you just figure it out. Okay. Can you push that bracket from the outside?
Yeah.
There we go. That one, perfect. Already scuffed the fins though.
You'll never see it.
No, you won't. It's on the inside. Thank God it's on the inside. All right, everyone. Well, that's the condenser installed, and the next steps are going to be to get the wheel arch liners in place before I can route the wiring and the hoses. which will eventually connect up here and here on the compressor. But as it goes in this stage of the rebuild or putting things back together, you got to stop doing one thing, finish something else, and then go back to what you're doing. And the reason I want to have these in place is so I can get everything laid out the way I want to have it routed behind the fender, and the wiring layout the way I'd like it, and I will carry on from there. And on that terrible disappointment, I'm going to have to end the video right here. I was hoping to have more done. In the next video, we're going to cover a lot of territory. It should be a lot of fun, and I'm going to cover one of my favorite topics, which is electrical. So we're not replacing this harness. I'm just going to make it safe, update, bring it up to code. And I look forward to sharing some of the techniques that I use to do that, and it's going to be an in-depth one, so you can follow along at home in your project, especially if you're afraid to tackle the electrical. A lot of guys are. Hopefully I can take some of the mystery out of that. I'm looking forward to that one. It's one of my favorite subjects. So bear with me. It's going to take me a bit to shoot that one, edit, and get it out, but I will keep you guys posted. And along the way, I'll be releasing some shorts just to keep you guys updated. Until next time, be well and God bless. Take care, you guys.